Who am I and who are you? The ultimate questions for who we are as whole beings experiencing on this earth in this human journey. And to find the answers to these questions, we are going to be sitting down and exploring the minds for the wisdom and knowledge of the layers that make up our beings. From the mind, to the emotions, to the body, and to the astral with the light body. We will be exploring these different multi-dimensional aspects of who we are as the I Am presence in this world on earth, in the human experience. We'll get to have fun, cracking smiles, and diving deep into the knowledge with different psychics, intuitives, shamans, coaches, teachers, practitioners, and many more different beautiful conscious souls of the everyday life to gather the information we need in order to unravel these layers and become more aware and present in ourself as the whole I Am presence that we are. And I'm very grateful for this and really look forward to the journey. So thank you all for tapping in and being a part of this. And I am your host, Marcus, aka Christolight, and I will be on this journey with you from the beginning to the end as we travel through the process of clearing layers. Grand rising, grand day, brothers and sisters on planet Earth. Welcome everybody, all you beautiful souls. Welcome to another episode of the process of clearing layers. This holistic space online series here on Instagram TV on Sundays. Full episodes on YouTube on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And today, for episode 4 of the process of clearing layers, your host, myself, Marcus aka Christolight, I will be sitting with a dragon energy brother who has dedicated the last about 5 to 6 years of his life experimenting, studying, and developing a at-home Shungite structured water system.
Hello, it is Yuuga Draconic High Priest, and I wanted to share a little bit about my water system and my water documentation with my research around structured water. My water system, MagnaViolet RadioniX. It utilizes the use of the conductivity of Shungite with neodymium magnets, and those two together create radionics, aka electromagnetic energy. So when you add these components together and you work with water, this is what you see inside your water. This is a hardcore stage 3 radionics water. As you see, there are multiple mirrors, and one giant sheet of mirror goes across the whole cup. I haven't seen that too many times. So what makes MagnaViolet so special is the fact that I'm utilizing the use of raw crystals and magnets to create the results that I'm creating, and no one else is doing this. After years of testing and research of crystal healing and therapy, and kind of coming across this on accident, I guess you could say I found the secret. And I want to share the secret with the world because this has changed my life.
And he authentically calls this structured water system MagnaViolet RadioniX. And he uses a few different tools, such as crystals, and he's got quite a bit of knowledge, as well as wisdom from experience, about structured water, Shungite water, and what it can do to help restore balance and wholeness to our mind, body, emotions, and spiritual energy. So today, our brother and our authentic soul guest, Hytherian, or Yuuga, the Draconic High Priest, will be joining us live to discuss his water device, the knowledge and the science behind it, and what it can do for us from the micro to macro levels of restoring our health and well-being. And you'll learn today what it's going to take for you to be able to build a structure like this in your own home for you and your family. This is a live Q&A, so if you have any questions throughout the live, feel free to drop your questions down below in that little question bubble next to the comments, and we'll get to your questions as we can and answer to the best of our abilities. Yuuga is based out of Arizona, and he has been having this journey with Shungite water since 2017. And then he came across structured water in 2018. He also is pretty passionate about crystal healing, and he also sells crystals on his page. So if you're interested in any very nice crystals, he sells crystals as well. And he also practices Qigong. So I'm no longer going to waste any time for all of us to hear about this knowledge and this beautiful technology that he has been developing to share with the world today on this live.
Hello.
It is grand day, brother man. Good to see you.
Great to be here.
How are you today?
I'm feeling really refreshed and ready for this.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. I'm really happy to share this space and allow you to share your passion and what you have been developing and experiencing over the last 5 to 6 years when it comes to this radionics structured water. And I'm really excited for you to share yourself with the world, share this technology, and help us have a deeper understanding about the importance of structured water and what it can do to our being. So without further ado, our brother Yuuga, the Draconic High Priest, he's out of Arizona. And first question I got for you is, going back in time a little bit to 2017, what was your life like during that period? And what kind of drew you and developed that chemistry of Shungite and structured water in the beginning?
So back in 2017, I was not doing too well, honestly. I was working graveyard at an airport doing janitorial work, and just graveyards nearly killed me. I lost like 40 pounds within 3 months, and I was just not doing the best with my overall health and interpersonal relationships. But the person that I was with had taken me to a crystal shop, and this is a pretty well-known shop here in Arizona called Black Market Minerals, and they were selling a bunch of little bags of Shungite, and they mentioned that it had water purification properties, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I want to try making some Shungite water. And after a lot of trial and error, like just getting that little bit of Shungite and trying to make a glass of it for myself to drink, that was a lot of effort. So it took quite a bit to understand what I was getting into, but once I got the secret, this is why I'm here.
Wonderful. And so when you started experimenting with it and trying it for yourself, when it came to drinking it and having it in your system, what were some of the things that you really noticed when you started consuming it?
It was really hard to get it to make an amount where I could consistently drink it, so it took a bit of time. But my first initial impression was, wow, this water tastes really good. And at that time in my life, I had gotten off of soda and, for the most part, most artificial drinks and juices, and I was mostly just drinking water. And if you're in Arizona, you know water is like the most important thing you could give yourself. So that's why it was really an instant draw for me, because I felt like, given this tool at the time, at least, that it could do a lot for the world. And I was thinking long-term wise that Shungite could help clean the oceans and clean the waters and make it more pristine, but we'll get to there. We'll get to there.
And as far as I know, from my knowledge with Shungite, somewhere in Russia, I believe, they actually they keep it in some of their water systems in Russia.
Really?
Because of the healing properties of it. I know it's commonly found in Russia, so it's like a very big thing out there.
Yeah, a lot of the European people, they are very familiar with Shungite, and from what I do know online, or from what I've seen online, the Russians were kind of hiding the Shungite for a few decades at least, and it wasn't until I want to say 1940s, 1950s that it finally started gaining some momentum.
Yeah. I know for myself, I got into Shungite back in 2000 and I want to say 2018. Yeah, it was like 2018 or so was when I got into Shungite, and yeah, it's changed my life a lot. Like you said, it tastes really good. You're getting a lot of healthy minerals. I've noticed it uplifts my energy a lot more, and very alkaline. It's not exactly alkaline, at least from what I've tested. It's not like the 9 pH, but it's like 7, 7.5 pH, which is still very good compared to like regular tap water. But next question I have for you is, what was like the what was the experience or the aha type of moment that like really made it click in you that this was something that you really wanted to dedicate yourself to and felt that it was important to share with the world?
So, like you mentioned, I found Shungite in 2017 and started working with it for water. I actually became homeless, and then I eventually got myself into my own apartment, and I was really wanting to build myself a little Shungite system to make water for myself daily. And once I started getting the right results that I was searching for in the Shungite water, then I started to realize that, wow, I figured it out. There's a scientific method to this. It's not just woo-woo science. And I started feeling a lot better, finally. It really is filled with a lot of antioxidants because of the fullerenes inside of the Shungite. And so those antioxidants help pull everything out of your body. And I actually did make a documented series on my YouTube channel about Shungite water detox. And if I remember correctly, it goes through at least a couple weeks of me documenting my experiences with Shungite water.
Okay. What's your YouTube channel? I'll put it down here at the bottom.
Voice of the Dragons, and that's all one word.
Voice of the Dragons. Alright, cool. I'll go ahead and pin that for everybody. So yeah, if you guys want to follow his content on YouTube about his journey with the Shungite water, feel free to follow him on YouTube, give him some support and love. So yeah, that's really amazing. And I want to say also, you're into crystal healing.
Yeah.
What was that journey like for you?
Honestly, crystal healing is what catapulted me into my spiritual awakening, or at least it was in tandem with my spiritual awakening. Like right before I had hit that initial awakening phase, I had met someone, and they mentioned that crystals had healing powers. And after I had my awakening, I had that epiphany moment. I was like, wait, they talked about crystals having healing powers. I used to go to this crystal shop, Black Market Minerals, and I used to go there as a kid and just look at all the stones and all the cool stuff. And then I went down there and I bought myself a selenite egg, and I started meditating with it. And once I started adapting crystal healing into my spiritual practice, then I started having experiences that I couldn't deny. And honestly, even though I had my epiphany and my awakening, I told myself I needed to just erase everything I knew, and I needed to relearn everything. And I told myself half-heartedly that I was an atheist. And I say that with quotations because I really didn't believe that, but I wasn't sure where to start, and nothing felt really comfortable. But I felt like if there was any truth in the world, that the stones would know. And that's one thing I remember asking both myself and the crystal. I would hold the crystal in my hand and I'd ask in meditation, what do you know? What have I known?
Wow. Man, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I know along with crystal healing, you've also been practicing Qigong. And how long have you been practicing that for?
About the same time, because back when I had my awakening, I was kind of introduced to the psychic gifts and psychic nature that everyone has, and I really wanted to learn telekinesis, like hardcore. So I told myself I want to start playing with Qi, and that developed into studying Qigong and other forms of energy healing and energy work. And I've done quite a bit with energy healing and energy work. It's been life-changing, and I just want to say you are capable of so much more than you are told, and I'm living proof of that. I've done things that would truly be classified as psychic if anyone really saw it.
Yeah. And I can attest to that as well. I've had so many, what would be like deja vu, matrix glitching,
Yes.
timeline, quantum leaping experiences throughout my journey as well. And it's incredible what we're truly capable of when we open up, tap in, and trust ourselves, trust who we truly are, that connection with the universal oneness. And you're capable of things that are beyond physical reality. And you start learning that physical reality is only one of the most densest layers of the whole entire thing that we're in. It's crazy. You performed Reiki as well?
At the time, I never really called it Reiki. I knew there was a distinct idea behind the philosophy of Reiki and energy healing, and they are very close and similar. But I was ignorant at the time, so I was just saying I knew Reiki, and I was just doing push and pulling energy through people's body. But I know better now, and in respects for Reiki, I never claimed to do Reiki in modern days or more recent times, just because it's not something I've really learned or have been taught.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, I'm ready to dive in. So
Okay.
if you're ready to start unloading and really giving us this in-depth knowledge behind this wonderful MagnaViolet clear radionics system that you have beautifully made and been developing over the years, feel free, man. It's all you. Go ahead and let us know what it's all about,
Okay.
what it can do for our water systems, and the benefits it can have in a healing sense for our organism.
I'm in my mom's office, and I know she has some shungite that I gave her, so I was just looking for that really quickly, but I'm not going to waste time. But everything starts with shungite. Shungite being one of the oldest minerals on the planet, not technically a mineral, but we just call it a mineral / crystal. Originally thought only to be found in Russia, I found that to be false. Very recently, last year when I went to the Tucson Gems show, I found a seller distributing Colombian shungite, and it was just recently discovered within the last 2 to 4 years. So this new shungite that's been on the market tends to be a lot more higher in quality, but that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is shungite is everything. Shungite, if you're not familiar with it, is mostly just fossilized carbon. It does tend to have other inorganic materials on it, like silicon dioxide, titanium dioxide, iron oxide, and you'll find that in forms of pyrite, hard minerals that are growing on the shungite, and that's why there's a classification system for shungite, because of the purity in the carbon content. So everything starts with elite shungite or elite noble shungite or noble shungite. It goes by a few different names, but that's the stuff that tends to be shiny and metallic looking. Now the stuff that is polished and more seen on the market, I have a piece right here. So these black stones, this is type 2 shungite, and this is what I use for my radionic bracelets. And it uses the same technology as my water system, and that's simply just introducing a magnetic field with shungite. Because shungite is at least at room temperature, the only known carbon material to have conductivity, it has opened up the world to a plethora of different technologies. And what I inadvertently found, that's elite shungite, what I inadvertently found is when you place shungite with something with a neodymium magnet, the strongest magnet on the planet, that creates electromagnetic energy or electromagnetic fields. And that's honestly how everything kind of started, on accident for me. Once I had my shungite system set up in 2018, I had this kind of spiritual practice to get a bunch of crystals and make a grid and place that near the water. I didn't know at the time that I was doing anything to the water specifically. I was just hoping that it would. And it wasn't until I got myself a bunch of neodymium magnets and placed them next to my water system that I started getting these weird energy patterns in my frozen ice exam or tests. And so basically what a freeze test or a frozen ice test is when you get a cup of water and you freeze it, and you can check the quality of your water with this test. If it comes out glacier clear and you can't see anything in it, that means it's good water. If it's really cloudy and it just doesn't look very pleasant to even look at while it's frozen, then that's usually a clear sign that it has pollutants in it, or carcinogens, or whatever's in the tap water or the water you're drinking. But so I was doing these freeze tests, and as I had the magnets near the water, the longer the water got exposed to the magnets, the more intense the energy waves got put inside the ice. And I was really upset at the time, because I was like, I need my water to come out crystal clear. This shouldn't be happening. And after enough trial and error, I realized, oh wow, I found something important. I found something very interesting. And that essentially was the birth of MagnaViolet Clear Radionics. And what was really interesting was, at the time, I was also working at the airport again, same job, just a different shift, so I wasn't killing myself. I remember I was pushing my little janitor cart, and I kept hearing the words radon, radionics, like exactly like that. The voice would just be like radon, little pause, radionics. And that lasted for about 2 or 3 days, and I kind of caved in. I was like, why do I keep hearing this in my head? Am I going crazy, or what's going on? And when I looked it up, radon was a radioactive element on the periodic table. Ended up not being related to my research, but radionics was exactly what I was tapping into. Radionics is electromagnetic therapy. And I was like, wait a minute, Shungite is a conductor and I'm using magnets. That's electromagnetic energy. What's happening here? And so what I had come to realize is that the radionic field chose me and gave me this information to spread to the world. And even though I am the creator of MagnaViolet Clear Radionics, or just MagnaViolet for short, again, I was given this information to call it MagnaViolet, and I wasn't specifically sure why. I mean, magnetism, but I wasn't clear about the violet, and it wasn't until about, I want to say, a year or a year and a half later that I had come across an orgone builder, and he had explained to me that crystals with rainbows, or maybe it was crystals specifically, I can't remember exactly, but crystals can emit ultraviolet light. And I was like, wait a minute, ultraviolet crystals, magnetism, MagnaViolet, that's how the name came to be. And that's something the radionic field gave me, and honestly, it just sounds beautiful to say, MagnaViolet. And what's also interesting is magna in Latin is like magnificent. So there's like a few different things going on with the word MagnaViolet Clear Radionics, or MVCRX for short. But so as I developed and was testing this technology, like more of these downloads kept coming in, more and more every day. The more I drank it, the more I would understand. And eventually, after, I want to say, a month of finally understanding what I was doing, I was kind of given some telepathic information that what I'm working on is called H3O, and that the government had spent millions of dollars investing into this technology, and that the radionic field gave it to me because it trusted me to spread this information with the world. And a thing about me that people should know is I'm very stickler for the rules, I'm very anal, and I'm kind of a perfectionist. And these tend to be my worst traits, but they have been everything that the water has needed. Because as I've learned with the water and have communicated with the water, you have to treat the water like it's an infant, otherwise you pollute it with your thoughts and emotions. And learning this on a very clear mental level and seeing how it impacted the water. I mean, I could reference a few people. There's Dr. Emoto. He showed that thoughts and words can impact the crystallization of water. There's Victor Schroberger. He showed that vortexing water can optimize its healing benefits. And of course, my favorite scientist, Dr. Gerald Pollack, he's the one that came up with H3O2, which is what it's really called, structured water or easy water. And what structured water is basically H3O2, so it's water that has another extra hydrogen and oxygen bonded to it. And when it it's in this state, it's called fourth phase water, and it's not necessarily a completely solid or completely liquid. It's this gel-like substance, and it exists in most type of water if it's not polluted, but on a very minimal degree. But when you have enough of this water, it actually carries and can conduct a negative electrical charge, which is very, very fascinating and powerful. And I know we talked about negative energy being bad, but when it comes to like actual electrical stuff, positive energy, positive ions are what's harming us. The negative ions and the negative electrical charge is what's giving us optimization of our life and livelihood. Did you have any questions at this point?
That's right, man. Wow. Very good knowledge. And thank you for being transparent about all this with us.
Yes.
And if any of you guys out there that are in the comments have any questions for our brother, go ahead and drop it down below in that question bubble next to the comments, and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities for you guys. And I actually want to show them real quick because I have my bags of both kinds of shungite right here.
Yes, please show.
Physically see the differences. So here on the left, I have the standard shungite, which you can see is more kind of like dullish.
Kind of a chalky look.
Then over here on the right, we have small pieces of Elite Noble Shungite. It's more shinier and slicker.
It's nearly metallic looking, honestly, but it's just pure carbon.
Yep. And that's my regular. And then the Elite Noble.
Oh, that's a good amount. I bet you paid a lot for that.
Yep, I'm getting ready to get new containers to make even more. This is my I showed it to you last time, but I'll let everybody else see it. This is my little water jug I have going on with my shungite.
Nice.
So I actually have both in there. I have Elite Noble and the regular.
You got to be really careful with the regular shungite. Just make sure there's no discoloration or any pyrite on it, because that tends to grow on the shungite. But I've done a little bit of both in my mixes for MagnaViolet Clear RadioniX. When I say that, I mean my first system. So I've upgraded my system recently to MagnaViolet Clear RadioniX 2.0, and that's where things get really interesting. I was able to upgrade everything that I took, refine it, and make it bigger. So before I was making a little less than a gallon a day. Now I'm making about 2 gallons a day. And it took about 2 weeks of consistent testing and just thorough testing of my water and making sure it didn't smell wrong. Because that's the thing with making shungite water. If you're not making it with the right material, even if it's just shungite, the hard minerals will cause it to kind of stink and give it a really distinct odor. And that's a sign that you could be poisoning yourself. So making shungite water is a specialized skill. It really is. Because I didn't know it at the time, but I may have been poisoning myself with the wrong type of material.
Yep. Yeah, I always make sure I look through each piece and that there's not that like amber brown look to it.
Yeah, the rust.
So yeah, we actually have a question, and it's from Phasing Out, and the question is fourth phase water something like plasma then? As
far as I understand, fourth phase water isn't necessarily the same as fourth phase material. In the terms of what we understand, it's just a gel-like substance, and it's not necessarily neither solid nor liquid. It's just in between.
Okay. And from Cassandra, are you taking tap water and cleansing that, or is it just bottled waters or a specific type of water?
So when I first started out, I really wanted to take the worst kind of water possible and turn it into the best thing imaginable. So I can use tap water. It just wears and tears on my primary filter because I have to use another filter on top of the shungite because the water out in Arizona is just the worst. So shungite itself will not work on standard tap water just because there's so many pollutants and microplastics that Shungite really only works on more organic materials. But I can use tap water, and I can clean it and make it into MagnaViolet, but for the most part, I'm sticking with distilled water just because I get the best results from that. I really want to get myself a distilled water machine so I could start making distilled water at home instead of buying jugs and wasting plastic and contributing to more problems. But all I can do right now at the moment is just buy distilled water by the gallon at the store and alchemize it into MagnaViolet. But yes, bottled water basically is municipal water with added minerals for flavor, so that's not wrong at all.
She said, amazing, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing the knowledge with us. And well, my right ear just started ringing. So my question is to you is, what does it take to set up Shungite water, and what type of materials, what kind of effort, and what are the steps for everybody out there if you're willing to share?
Yeah, I have everything documented on my Instagram, on my highlights. I have most of my procedures and documentation also on my YouTube channel. So the information is there, but I can definitely break it down for you. And essentially the most scientific stuff I have seen on the internet is using 1 gram of Shungite for every 10 grams of water. And that's using elite Shungite. And then for it to get the most benefits into the water, it takes a full 24 hours to cycle through and charge the water. And another thing I didn't know when I first started is that because of the fullerenes inside Shungite, depending on what source you're looking at, it's not verified scientifically which fullerene there is in Shungite. Most people assume it's C60, but like I said, it hasn't technically been verified, but we'll just assume it's C60. So C60 is known as a Buckminster fullerene, and it's basically a soccer ball shaped carbon atom with 60 molecules, or 60 atoms of molecules or atoms of carbon. I'm sorry, a little flustered with these terms. But so this Buckminster fullerene, it can take any energy and realign it and make it into good healing energy. So one thing about the fullerenes in the Shungite is it's said to have like 2 billion rotations per second on the atomic level. And when it's going that fast, anything that comes into contact with that energetic field just gets obliterated. And that's one thing you have to keep in mind, is if you are using Shungite for energetic cleansing, you do need to purify it, because it will retain that information and it can't fully transmute it by itself. So when you take Shungite and you place it in the sun, the heat from the sun will help dissipate the rest of the negative energy and make your Shungite useful again. Not that it isn't as useful, it works better when you clean your Shungite. So that's actually another thing I wanted to mention too, is so I have to source my Shungite online, and I have to buy a lot, because even with buying only elite Shungite, only half of what I buy is usable by my standards, and my standards are really, really high, and that's how I'm able to get what I get. So keep in mind, if you want to make about 2 gallons worth of Shungite, you're going to have to buy about 1,000 grams of Shungite, and you're lucky if you can use half of that. And that's what I was trying to say, was it took me 2 weeks of just thorough testing, because I had most of that Shungite and I threw it into my system and it kept stinking. So I had to take everything out, rip it all apart, pour the Shungite into a strainer, and then hand dig every single little piece. And that's why it took 2 weeks to make everything pristine and running, because of all the hard minerals on the elite Shungite. And some of it you can clearly see with the rust and the ironing on the outside of the crystal, but sometimes it veins through, and the only way to tell is if you break it open, and that causes more smaller pieces. So, oh yeah, that's another thing I needed to mention. So I get my Shungite, I source it, and then before I even use it, I cleanse it in the sun, and I also boil it in water. And I intuitively was told to start boiling the Shungite, because the heat also helps dissipate the negative remains inside the shungite. And what I have found through boiling shungite is that it kind of has almost a muddy smell, but it's kind of sweet. Not necessarily a musk smell, but it also cleanses and purifies the air. So if you have that, what I would say is, if you have the type 2 shungite or the rock shungite that you have, get a bunch of that stuff, put it in a pot and just boil it. And you'll feel a difference in your home. It's a great cleanser. And that's another thing I noticed too, was as I was boiling the shungite and I was holding the stone, I'll just say this is a piece of shungite for reference, I could tilt and move the shungite and the heat would not affect me. If I held it in a stationary position, I would feel the heat. But the way it would transmute the heat and the energy, it was insane. I could hold something burning hot, and as long as I was rotating my wrist and hand, I wasn't getting burned. So that was an interesting insight I wanted to share too. But so I mentioned you need about a high amount, just 1 gram to 10 grams. You need a 24-hour charge cycle. You need good water to start with, like I mentioned. It really just depends on your water's quality, but the cleaner the water is, the more benefits you'll get out of the shungite itself. And let's just say you're using distilled water for a reference. Even if it's just distilled water, a minimum of 8 hours to charge the water, and then you can start getting the medicinal benefits. But 24 hours is what I've noticed tends to have the best outcome. And then I saw a couple comments, and I wanted to answer those really quickly. For Cassandra, yes, I am selling my water. It's just not cost effective to ship it, and that's the biggest thing. Regular price for a gallon of water is $10 for a full gallon, and it costs more to ship it. So if you want to, I can definitely make that happen for you. If you want to try a smaller sample version, we can definitely set that up, and I'll give you some shungite in there, and we can ship it in a mason jar. And another question was from We Are Leftover Stardust. Hi, Candace. How long does it take to purify the water? 24 hours. A minimum of 8, though.
Now, I have a question for you. So say somebody wants to build one of the structures in their home. Would you build the structure for them if they pay for the materials, or would you create a guide maybe and then send the materials and the guide to them so they can construct one in their own home?
Yeah, I can definitely make a guide, and that's kind of what I've been doing with my YouTube channel and just my highlights. When I was making MagnaViolet 2.0, I did make a pretty thorough description of how to make it all and build it all for yourself. But my biggest concern is just the lack of knowledge of the pollutants in the water with the shungite itself. So if you want to risk it, then by all means, I will be there to help you build that system. But if you wanted to buy a system from me, I can definitely make that happen. For the system that I have 2.0, I would charge $1,000, and half of that is just for materials, and the rest is for my time. Because like I mentioned, it took 2 weeks, every single day, letting the water filter for 24 hours, tearing everything apart to get the result that I got to make that much water. But once you have it, it's for life. And that is an investment. Is worth it.
It would be worth that, because once you have this, it's something that you'd have for life. And you wouldn't have to go out to the store and keep buying water and keep doing what you've been doing, spending money. And it's a lifelong investment. So when you think about that, there's reverse osmosis systems out there for over $1,000. There's other cleaning water systems that you can buy in your home for over thousands of dollars. And this would be a very good deal. And this type of water is structured. You're getting the mineral benefits of the shungite. And shungite actually has a lot of benefits. If you look up online, it helps your physical regeneration. It helps with different diseases. It helps with the organs. It helps with your respiratory. And it also gives you spiritual energy benefits, because it's a very good crystal and stone. And it also is an EMF protection.
Yes.
So it also clears out radiation from your system.
Yeah, that's another thing I should mention is once if you saw, I wish I was home, but I'm not. But if you look at my profile and you see my MagnaViolet system, it's a cylinder with magnets and some crystals on the outside. When you build that system and you're building it with the intent for charging and clearing your water, you can actually, when you replicate my methods, you can actually charge your water long distance, and you will be affecting your immediate environment. I'm not exactly sure how far it reaches out to, but I have documented it that, like, when I was living with one of my family members, I had my water system upstairs and they had their own water downstairs, and I froze the water from downstairs, and it was very similar in look to MagnaViolet. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is that you're not also just healing yourself, you're healing your environment when you have the right materials.
That's right. Do you have any cups of the structured water at all that you could show us?
Not at the moment. What I would do is I would get a mason jar, just a regular mason jar, and then I'd throw a few pieces of shungite in there for whoever buys it, just so the water stays consistently cleansed and purified. Because that's one thing I have noticed, is that when you take the water out of the system, I'm not sure how long the shelf life is for the energy to stay in the water, but environmental pollutants can affect the water, and that's something I have documented. Is I believe it was the Schumann resonance, now that I think about it, but I was doing a freeze test, my water came out great, and then I did the freeze test right after the water had thawed out, or the ice had thawed out, and I put the same batch in the same cup in the same freezer, and it came out looking like tap water, even though it was on like 000 ppm on the TDS reader. And what I had saw that day is there was a huge spike in the Schumann resonance, and for whatever reason that spike just destroyed the structure of the water.
Wow, that is so powerful. And are you able to show off the baby to all of us?
No, I'm not home right now, unfortunately. You have to go on my profile. I was trying to get home in time, but I don't have a ride, and I don't have a vehicle, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you guys can find it all over his page, and pretty sure in your highlights too, right?
Yeah, but on my YouTube channel, you'll find MVCRX 2.0 DIY Shungite water, or structured water, one of those two. And you'll see me build it from the very beginning until its final stages. And Marcus, your setup is very similar to mine, just minus the magnets and other crystals around it, but that's really all it takes. This is a nice gallon glass container, preferably glass, and some shungite and good water, and you can make yourself some good shungite water.
Yeah. And I also want to say too, you probably want to avoid plastic containers, just because you don't want to get all those little microplastics in your water. And in general, you honestly don't want to really use plastic for cooking, for eating out of, for drinking out of, because you get a lot of those microplastics and other chemicals that can shed off the plastic and then go into your bloodstream and your system. So really you want to try to stick with like ceramic and glass type of things when it comes to consumption of food and drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I wanted to discuss was not necessarily in tandem with what you just said, but with making structured water. If you have crystals, or you have tensor tools, or you have orgonite, you can make structured water in your home right now. Now, there is a definitive difference between structured water and living water. These two tend to be synonymous, but you can structure tap water if it's not too polluted. Would I recommend drinking purely energetic tap water? I would not, but you can structure just about any water as long as it isn't too polluted. That's actually one thing I have right here. So if you have someone that makes good quality orgonite, which I know people in this current session do, then just reach out to them and talk about building some structured water. And if you would like a reference for orgon builder, I know one personally here in Arizona that I've worked with and helped, and we can set something up for you too.
Yeah, definitely. You guys can also reach out to somebody from my later episodes in this series, Golden Sun Orgone. He also makes Orgonite and has done water structuring as well.
Funny thing, I mentored him.
What's that?
Mentored him.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm the reason
Small
he
world.
Shungite and neodymium. Like, once I put those one and one together, it's like I was the first monkey in the 100th monkey effect. Like, I wasn't really, I don't really build Orgonite. I have built it with people, Golden Sun included, but it's really weird. Like, even though I wasn't the one that directly spread the information, I'm the one that obtained the information, and it's just like monkey see, monkey do, and everyone started using Shungite and neodymium with their Orgone builds. And the people that tend to use those two specifically and build around that are the ones that are making the biggest impact.
Yeah. Got that inner soul connection, and sometimes we're these tribes that we're not even aware of, and then we come together when it's time, and we start spreading the knowledge and the downloads that we get to the different corners of the map. It's so cool.
Yeah. So
it's very humbling and really awesome that we get to do this together.
Absolutely. So if you want to try making structured water in your own home with what you do have available to you, iron-bearing minerals and copper-bearing minerals tend to have the greatest effect on water. So even though it's not quote-unquote a metallic-bearing mineral, amethyst does wonders for water. Because of its coloration, amethyst actually gets its purple color from a certain iron molecule. So even though you can put a magnet on the amethyst, it won't react. It still contains and transmits the information of iron. And for whatever reason, iron works really good with structuring water. In my current MagnaViolet setup, I have meteorites ringed around the magnets on my system. And once I added the meteorites to it, then I started getting the good results.
That is awesome. Now, you said you had step-to-step instruction videos. About how long are those lengthwise?
No more than 10 minutes. They're pretty short and straight to the point. They're a little older, so my video style is a little different if you watch the more modern ones. But I recommend watching the most recent DIY structured water video. That's MVCRX 2.0. I've been more consistent on my YouTube posting, so you have to scroll down a little further to find it if you're doing that.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a question, how do you know your water is purified when drinking it? I love this question because I do this with people all the time. So whenever I have a friend that comes over and they want to try the water, I'll be like, all right, here's the distilled water. This is the same water as what's in there. The only difference is the shungite and the exposure. And so I'll have them test the regular distilled water, and then I'll have them test the shungite water. And like, the reaction is almost the same every time. Their eyes pop open and they're like, whoa, what is this? So you can definitely taste and feel the difference. For me, because I've been on it long enough, I can taste when I'm not on it. And like, one of the most distinctive signs of the shungite water or the structured water is there's almost this lingering sweet taste in your mouth once you have it, and it tends to be quote unquote wetter. But you can also achieve that wetness with just magnets.
Yeah, I know for me, when I was testing it, I did pH strip test, just to test out the difference between like the regular water I was using and the shungite water. And I saw that the pH level of the regular water was around, I believe, like 5 or 6. And then the pH level of the shungite water was about 7.5 to 8, which is right under alkaline. So it's like just about alkaline, but not yet alkaline. But in my perspective, it's better than alkaline because you're getting the mineral benefits, you're getting the other benefits of the shungite. Yes. And there's just so much when it comes to the mental, physical, and spiritual level of what the stone brings to your energy field. And then also what I noticed, because I did this too, was I put the regular water in a water bottle, then I put the Shungite water in a regular water bottle. And I looked at the regular water, and there's like these chemicals in it that was creating rainbow coatings on the water bottle from all the chemicals in it.
I know you're talking about like a Dasani bottle, and you see the perspiration, and you see little rainbows. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like smeared all over the water bottle and stuff.
We call it.
And there's like no oxygen bubbles in it either. And then when I looked at the Shungite water, there's like hundreds and hundreds of little oxygen bubbles all over. And then completely transparent and clear with no rainbow or any chemicals rubbing off onto the plastic water bottle. So there are definitely ways to know, that's for sure.
Yes. And I mean, Shungite water itself, not even MagnaViolet, just pure Shungite water, has decades and decades of research back behind its therapeutic and healing effects. That's another thing that's really important about this technology, is not even just the Shungite water, but just MagnaViolet. The system and the methods I've built and included into what I know as MagnaViolet. It's a very alchemical process on a very physical and tangible level, as well as a very spiritual level, because water is the medium of our vessels and our livelihood. When you are programming your water with crystals and magnets and tensor tools and organite, you're putting all those healing benefits, and you can actually, to a small degree, encode your water with whatever lessons you're trying to learn. And it really depends on how well you have your crystal therapy down. If you know what crystals you want to have influencing your water, you can gain those abilities of that crystal just by having the external exposure method. Because most crystals carry heavy metals, you don't want to use really any crystal for water purification. But if you wanted to experiment with just regular crystals and water, and not even just Shungite, like I mentioned, iron-bearing minerals and copper-bearing minerals, but quartz works very well too. But amethyst is one of the best I've seen.
Yeah, quartz. And is there anything else that you want to touch upon before we wrap up?
Yes. It kind of just expands upon what I just said, but how I got my name and what Yuuga became and what Yuuga is. Yuuga is not my birth name, but it is my given name by the Buddha. And when you research and look behind that word, Yuuga in Japanese, it has a few different translations. The main ones we're going to talk about are tender river and quote-unquote elegance. Elegance is not a really good translation for the word Yuuga, because I've talked with some people from Japan about this word, and it essentially translates to a refined state of perfection, or a sustained state of perfection and constant refinement. And when you add that concept with tender river or the water, honestly, that's kind of a little bit of how Hytherion came to be. Was I took the word hythe, Hythe, which stands for a break in the river or a passage of water, and I added that with Hytherion. And there's a few other things I could mention, but I won't. But if you have the eye, you will know. But just seeing that I essentially became what I embodied, or I embodied the name that I had become, Yuuga, and seeing that and learning that and feeling that and spreading this message to the world, like, it's a very great honor. It's a very big honor, and I'm just glad that I'm at the centerfold of it, and I get to be at the forefront of this technology and help spread the word.
Really grateful for you, brother. And I'm really happy to share this space and allow you to share yourself for the world, because it's like we talked about a few days ago, there's a lot of hype out here about like how many followers we have, what our name is in Hollywood, or if we're known big time for something. And, there's a lot of us in this world, a lot of us starseeds that are very intelligent and are creating movements and trailblazing with technologies and other things that we're putting forth with our creative power that are life-changing. When I say life-changing, I literally mean life-changing. If you had something like this in your home and you stopped consuming tap water and water's out there that we have no idea what people are putting in, and you get to put your own intentions and love into this water along with the crystal power, that's changing your whole entire structure of your being. And not only yours, but your family and your friends as well. And it's the same with the organite. Putting organite around your house, putting organite around the cities and your towns. Those are things that are really life-changing when it comes to our energetic fields and EMF protection. And then just utilizing different practices like crystal healing and Qigong.
Yes.
These are all things that literally shift the dynamics of how our whole entire vibratory field functions. And it translates into the mind, the body, the emotions, and the spiritual energy all together. And I just want to read off a few of the benefits of what Shungite can do in water, so you guys can have a real clear understanding of the type of benefits and why we should consider Shungite water in our home. And Shungite water benefits the human body by normalizing cellular metabolism. It also increases enzyme activity. It can boost the regeneration ability of human tissue and influence the exchange of neurotransmitters, which can also help a person's resistance to stress, fatigue, and anxiety. Fullness, which can improve a person. Fullness also can help with antihistamines and inflammation throughout the body. It can help relieve pain and suppress allergy symptoms as well. Many believe the antioxidant ability of fullness to exceed the vitamin E, diagonal, and beta carotene. Some people living with cirrhosis find that dabbing it on their skin can actually help if they do it a couple times a day, and it is effective towards their condition. Some other benefits in the treatment of cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, liver disease, pancreatitis, colonoscopy, gastritis, gallbladder problems, anemia, asthma, chronic fatigue, and arthritis are all things that can be benefited through using Shungite water. And it can also help with headaches, aches and muscle joints, and acne as well. So these are all different things that consuming Shungite water on a regular basis can help bring healing benefits to.
One thing I should mention is when you are drinking only Shungite water and you're going through the detox, it makes you pee a lot. I mean, a lot. And one thing that's really interesting, not to get too TMI, but when I pee, it comes out crystal clear for the most part, unless I'm not drinking enough water. And a lot of people say don't have crystal clear pee. It's a sign you're drinking too much water, but I don't drink more than half a gallon a day. And I'm clear.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because I try drinking other stuff, and the next time I go to the bathroom, it's like instantly yellow. But for whatever reason, the Shungite water it keeps your body very hydrated.
Yeah. Yeah, so I highly recommend Shungite water in your home. And if you guys have any questions about how you can get it prepared or how to get it going in your own house, feel free to reach out to our brother right here, Yuuga, and you can get the knowledge from him. And if you could, send me over what you feel like is a really good demonstration video that you have.
Okay. And
I will add it in at the end of this fully produced episode for the YouTube channel, so that everybody can have it at the end of the episode. She says, excuse me while I look for some Shungite.
Oh, no, I said I have the video in mind. Oh, wait. Oh, that was a comment. My bad.
Yeah, and if you want some resources for Shungite, feel free to ask him as well.
Yes, I'm more than
Ask me or
happy to
him,
help
either one of
direct
us.
anyone and help source materials for anyone that's looking for good materials. So we can make it happen.
Pure Shungite rubs off. What form do you recommend? Elite Noble is usually like the really good go-to.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're talking about type 2 or type 3 shungite, and it's
Yeah.
like you get all these black residues on your finger, and that's just the powder of the stone itself. So just that's not the highest quality shungite when you have that sign, but when you're working with elite shungite, you can't even polish it because it's so brittle, and because of its crystalline structure, it really can only be worked with raw.
So the biggest thing you'll just notice instantly is the shininess of it. That's the Elite Noble. Very shiny, metallic-like. And then this is the Type 2, the standard. Just very dull looking. Alright. Alright, man. We're at the hour mark. Is there any last words that you have for the collective or that you would like to share about this beautiful knowledge?
I think we've touched upon everything that I feel is important for people to know, so we can end it here.
Awesome. I really appreciate you, brother, and sending you a lot of love and appreciation for what you are doing and what you have done. And actually, I got one final question for you.
Okay.
And that final question is, what does the vision of the future look like for you in this passion?
Wow.
And how can we support?
My biggest aspiration with this water is to get a Nobel Peace Prize and make this water and technology known to the world and show people that water is life and water has its own consciousness. Like I mentioned, Dr. Emoto and all these other scientists, they've been working with water, but there's something very different about what I'm doing, and I'm not just showing that water has memory, I'm showing that you can affect its memory directly, and I feel like this could change the world. It's changed my world.
Yes. And what can we all do to support you in this vision?
One thing to instantly help me is to start sharing the information. I've been building a system with structured water, and when you go through and you look at my highlights, you can see that I've definitively, I've definitively marked, and my brain's blanking out. Anyways, I've made a system that you could visualize how well your water is. There's like 5 different stages of MagnaViolet RadioniX that I have found. I'm not saying there's any less or more, or there should be more if we can come together, but there's one thing that's really important that I want to mention, and that's called a sea urchin in my research. I know you know what I'm talking about, but the sea urchin is something that is gaining momentum in the Oregon and tensor ring community. And unfortunately, it's a sign of dead energy. I can take distilled water, freeze it, and this distilled water has no effect to it. It's just pure distilled water. And it's getting almost the exact same result as people making these tools. And it's just very frustrating to see misinformation being spread, and it's coming off as the next big thing. So if we could just spread the word of what it takes to make real structured water, what to avoid, and just get my name around, that's honestly the biggest help. But if you always want to support me directly, I'm always available for custom pieces, necklaces, bracelets, or if you're looking for good stones, I got the great stones.
Yeah, and where can everybody find you? What are your platforms? I know your YouTube is Voice of the Dragons.
So
is there any other platforms that people can reach out to you?
Instagram is Hytherion, and then TikTok is Hytherion with a 0 instead of an O because someone took the name from me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, in the full episode of this Instagram Live, episode 4, MagnaViolet Clear RadioniX Water with our good brother here, Yuuga the Draconic High Priest, will be on YouTube, Sacred Light Healing and Wellness, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern premiering. And you'll be able to watch the full episode on YouTube, where we'll have some visuals about what we spoke about today, a little bit more backstory and background information that you'll be able to pick up on with real visual explanations behind it. And you'll get to see images and videos of the structured water that he's had over time, as well as at the end, I'm going to add in there one of his step-by-step instructional videos on how you can create Shungite water in your own house. So that will be at the end of this live and the episode, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. All right. Thank you all for tapping in. Thank you all that came here to show love and support for myself and our brother Yuuga. Thank you all for the questions and being open to receiving this empowering knowledge. It is a great honor to be here, and it is an honor to share this space with you, brother. Appreciate you coming on today and sharing yourself.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I look forward to our journey together and continuing to expand and share our gifts to the world and see where it goes. And for everybody out there, I will be live next Sunday at noon Eastern for the next episode, and I will create the preview, and you'll see who our guest will be and what it'll be for Wednesday night. But once again, this full episode will be out on YouTube, Sacred Light Healing and Wellness, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And you'll be able to learn step by step on how to make Shungite water. Everybody have a great day. Blessed Sunday. Wholeness and balanced love. Wholeness, balanced love, everybody. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of The Process of Clearing Layers, MagnaViolet Clear RadioniX Water with Yuuga Draconic High Priest. And you can ask him any questions regarding this water system, his path, or getting crystals from him through the Instagram tag Hytherion, HYTHERION. And you guys can join me next Sunday, February 5th at noon Eastern Time, as I will be live for episode 5 with a good brother of mine who used to be a former Marine Sergeant and police officer. And he had a transformational life path of becoming self-aware and spiritually awakened through plant medicines and shamanism. And he will sit with us to share his wisdom, his experiences, and what it can look like to deprogram and reprogram yourself through these different practices and techniques that he has utilized over the years to transform from being a Marine Sergeant and a police officer to a very conscious, balanced male figure.
What up, everyone? It is Yuuga, voice of the dragons, and I wanted to show off my new water system, MagnaViolet Clear RadioniX 2.0. This is going to be a full overview of the system. I'll talk about the function, the uses, the benefits. I'll show a demonstration of what structured water comes out of my system, and we'll go from there. So the unit itself that you're looking at right here, this is a zero water system filtration unit, and it's 2.5 gallons. It's made of glass. I've upgraded from plastic, and I can make more water. And we're going to talk about this thing from the bottom up. So here on the metal plating that's holding this thing up, I've got these giant hematite magnets, and on the inside are some neodymium magnets. And this side's north, and on the sides are south, and on the other side of this, so it'll be about right here, but all the way down at the bottom, that side is north. And alternating poles, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 magnets And these ones alternate as well in a certain unit, and I've got it replicated on the other side. Now, one thing I will talk about really quickly, I had more crystalline energy, and I'm going to be doing more to upgrade my system to get more crystalline energy, but this is what I'm working with for now until I move. So just to get the crystalline energy infused into the water, externally speaking, I've got a radionics bracelet that I made myself here and here. Iron tends to structure water very well, so I have meteorites here on the outside connected to the specific points I talked about for reference, and they're just scattered here in between the different spots. The backside is where it gets really complicated. So it starts here at the base, and then it alternates all the way up to the top. And on the bottom, we've got a giant magnetite crystal wrapped in some hematite beads with some neodymium magnets, a piece of shungite here, a piece of shungite here. I'm gonna get this wrapped, but I don't have enough material, so I have to get more. But this is wrapped with some neodymium magnets, and I don't know if I'll be able to show it from that angle. Okay, we'll do a side shot. So I've got tourmaline and then shungite closer to the water on the inside, and this is rock shungite, not elite shungite. And then I've got some selenite on the outside, creating a cleansing energetic barrier. Now on the inside of the unit, as you can see, I've got a lot of shungite. I've got about 4 pounds of elite shungite. I don't need that much, I just have that much. And I'm going to be able to duplicate the system with that much water. So if you're curious about making this and you just want to know how much you need, so you're going to need about roughly 2 pounds of elite shungite to make 2.5 gallons of water. Shungite water itself is known to have many proven health benefits. I can't even begin to describe the many benefits it does have. But structured water specifically is known to be more hydration, or more optimal for hydration. Because of its energetic signature, it's more easily absorbed into the bloodstream on a molecular level, and it carries a negative electrical charge, and that's the charge you want for your biology and anatomy. So now I'll go to the freezer, and I've got something already frozen, and we'll pull it out and we'll look at it together. So here is an example of what structured water looks like when it is frozen. This is what I call stage 3 radionics. Stage 3 is defined by those mirrors and the energy pattern that you see within the ice. Another thing to look for when structuring your water and doing these freeze tests is notice how much doming is at the top of your water. The less doming, the better. Ice naturally expands when it freezes, but for some reason, structured water, it acts and behaves a little bit differently than regular H2O. So H3O2, just for reference, does things a little differently. And just to explain why I call it what I call, and it's the method behind the madness. So MagnaViolet Clear stands for my work with shungite water and the structuring of shungite water. MagnaViolet comes from the idea of using magnetism and ultraviolet light that radiates off of crystals to penetrate and rearrange the molecules of the water. Now radionics with an X is the term I'm using for the energy patterns that you see in the water. Now I have definitively found 5 different stages. I'm starting to question if I have discovered more or if I'm discovering different attributes of the different stages. I've noticed some peculiar things. I'm going to be making a video more about the structured water and the freeze test that I do. But as far as this video is concerned, I've pretty much wrapped up everything I wanted to say and show everything I wanted to show. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I would love to connect more with my audience and whoever stumbles upon this video. I'll be posting more on TikTok, so I will have that in the description below. And I do most of my work on Instagram, so I'll also have that link down in the description. So, that's the end of the video. Thanks for tuning in. Catch me later. I'll definitely try to be more consistent with the work that I'm doing. So just stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.